Okay, kids, you ready?
The Bandits Everywhere Podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Bandit Podcast Everywhere. My name is Matt. I'm kind of a host, I guess. This is a podcast about dads being fans of Bluey. If you don't know what Bluey is, you shouldn't be. No, I'm just kidding. If
This is the wrong podcast for you.
yeah, it's real. We mainly talk about parenting, life in general, marriage. No judgment here. We just talk and vent our things out and then joke about them. And we're just trying to, have some conversations, meaningful and fun conversations right now. So we got our friend here, Jake. We had a pretty good conversation the other day. We're excited to start this episode 4 of the Bandits Everywhere podcast. Episode 4. It's been good. It's been really good. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone who have supported, even if it's just listening to the podcast or liking our different social media channels. We appreciate that a lot. We have been growing, so things are going well. And thank you everyone who just gave us your likes and all that. So as I said before, we got our friend Jake here. Why don't you let us know something about you, Jake?
I'm already stumped on the first question. I don't like this. No, I mean, I'm very go with the flow. One of my kind of lifelong beliefs is just kind of rolling with the punches and adapting to what comes at you. I've been married for 12 years to my wife, who I've known my whole life, pretty much since elementary school.
That's cool.
Kind of high school sweethearts, all that kind of stuff. But we've got three kiddos, 8, 5, and about to be 3. So they keep us on our toes and they keep us tired all the time, which is life, right?
But yeah, that's right. What do you do for a living?
Do for a living. So I work at my lifelong church. I worked in retail for a number of years, worked in banking for a number of years, and it just never felt right. But now I work at our church and it feels right. I head up the music, contemporary worship music, head up the youth, and I head up our tech ministry stuff as well. Awesome. I'm aware of many hats. Sometimes the hats don't fit, but I make them work. So I feel like that's any job though. You just make it work and roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's a good philosophy. I mean, that's pretty much how I go too.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of my philosophy too. Just let's like Len said, one of our other guests, like improvisation on comedy. It's just like you work with whatever the other guy throws at you.
Right.
So just accept it as your new reality and go with it.
Right. And I always find I've known people before in my life who, get so upset over like if one little minor thing goes wrong. I'm like, I don't want to spend my life and spend these formative years with my kids being angry about everything because I know my kids aren't going to do exactly what I want all the time. And it's just, adapting and overcoming and just figuring it out as you go. And again, if your kid decides they want to break their leg that day, hopefully that's not the case, but throws a wrench into your plans, but you're going to do what's best for your kid, right? I mean, it's all about adapting and going with it.
Yeah, and a lot of those things that we're talking about, we see Bandit do it. We learn a lot from the example of that. So I want to just turn a little bit the conversation for a moment to the actual, core of the show, which is
right.
Yeah. So what's your favorite episode from the show?
They're all great at some moment in them. I connect with a lot of music, so there's like the Sleepy Time one always hits me because of the music in it. But I mean, one of the the real ones that I love is Flat Pack, where they're, Bandit and Chili are building this IKEA furniture essentially. IKEA, please don't sue. But they're building this furniture, and the kids are making a game of it because they can't play with their parents. And the reason why I love it so much is the ending. Like, it's, obviously you're portraying these kids from being just born all the way through their life, and finally getting the kids out of the house, and figuring out what to do next. And when Bingo is like, "Hey, I'm going to space now," Bluey's just like, "Okay, I'm old, what do I do?" And like, it just it cripples Bluey there. And then she's like, "Hey," parents are like, "Hey, come here, come sit with us up here." And it's just the whole ending. Like, I get my emotions from my mother, and she cries at the drop of a hat. And every time I'm like, I'm gonna hold it together. It's gonna be okay. But that's high up there on the list for me, for sure.
Yeah, all the endings from the show are amazing. And speaking about music, I've said this before on the show, but my favorite moment from the show is from the bike, where they play the what's it called? The Joy? Alto Joy. Sorry. It's so easy in sleep. Yeah, I love it when they use classical music, and when they use that, and with that episode, it's amazing. Yes. Right. So talking about music, every time they pull a classic piece on there, it's great. I was actually listening to the album right before we jumped to this call.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it's a great album.
Yeah, and I've known it exists for a long time now, but I haven't went in and actually listened to it. Right. And I just did, and it's I mean, they're genius.
Yeah,
the main theme, the intro, like the extended version, it's insane. It's amazing.
Right. And Jeff Bush, I love what he's done with it. Huge shout out. If you ever wind up watching this episode, huge shout out. I love you. You make the show for me.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I mean, he's a musical genius, and the way they put him into the show and spots here and there. But yeah, I think a lot of people connect with music, and they feel things differently through music, and music moves them, obviously. And just being able to. I'm fine with it.
I don't know what's going on up there, but it sounds interesting.
Somebody else's problem.
Right now.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, that's good. It's fine. But yeah, just the way that music can pull at those heartstrings and make you feel differently. It's a hard thing to do. I played music from like middle school all the way through college and stuff. And it was, my parents are musicians and everything, just on a low level. I mean, they're great, but they don't do it professionally or anything. But it's always been part of my life. And whenever a show captivates music in a way that like Jeff Bush does, it's amazing. And it makes it so much more for me.
Yeah. And by the way, there aren't much shows, especially for kids, that has this kind of music. And like you and I mean I play some music too, and since I was like 13, 14 years old. So being a musician, you enjoy more of those beats where they play this amazing music. And it wouldn't work if it had different music, but if you just listen to the music without the visuals, it wouldn't be the same either. So right. I think it's overall, I mean, just right now there's this like fuss about the new Airbnb that has launched. Have you seen that?
I have.
I mean, yeah, you must be blind if you didn't.
Yeah.
And but what I was amazed by is that how much juice people are taking from this. How much fans are doing a lot of things. So it's one of a kind. This show, this series it's amazing. It's just
right. And one of the things that I had no clue what Bluey was. And then we just happened to have the TV on, and it popped up one day after another show we were watching. And like my kids immediately got drawn to it because it was something new. And I wasn't expecting it to be 8 minutes. I wanted it to go longer, but I love the little bite-size episodes. But what really resonated with us, I can't even remember what episode it was, but me and my wife are just sitting there and we start watching it because we listen to the music and everything and we're aware of it. Kids are talking to us about it. But it's like at some point in the episode, we're like, hold on, that literally just happened to us like yesterday.
I know.
And the way that they can portray and just bring honesty and being like, this is real life. I know a lot of people resonate with the backseat of the car.
Yeah.
Where there's like markers on food and stickers on the window.
Yeah, we'll talk
yeah,
about
and like it resonates so much with people because they portray it in such an accurate way. But it's in a genuine way too. Where you don't feel like it's fantasy, you feel like it's real life. It's just dogs instead of people.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've always said this, but every time the girls ask Bandit for a game, his reaction is so accurate. I mean, that happens to me every day. I mean, it happened to me a little while ago that I went up there to the room for a moment, and we got this game where I lay on the bed, and I lift my arms like this, and I pretend to be a bike, and the three of them jump on my stomach, and they grab my hands as it were the handles of a bike, and they were like, let's play the bike. Oh no, the bike.
Yeah, it's just like, oh gosh, not again. Which game is this? Oh yeah. But I will give you kudos though, because the best games are the games where you get to lay down.
Yeah,
I have perfected being a boat in rocky water very well. I have perfected being the patient and doctor very well. All those lay down games are great.
We should put that on a resume. Like, I'm a pretty good rocking ball. I'm a good bike.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh man. So oh man. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I know. I got it. Sorry. I would like to hear a cool story about you being a dad, about you and your kids.
Okay.
I mean, it can be funny. It can be, you know.
I have tons of stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that I really love most about being a dad is just taking things over the top. My wife is one, when we are out and about, she will, if I like start singing in a store because the song's on and I know it, she will like actively start running away from me just because she does not like to be embarrassed like that. But my kids love it, which is wonderful for me because they'll egg me on in the store and everything and just be like, yeah, keep going, you know, clap for me and everything. So, I mean, there's times like that, but taking everything over the top, there's a book that my kids absolutely love. Highly recommend if you haven't heard it already, but it's The Book with No Pictures by BJ Novak.
I'll look it up.
I'm a huge Office fan, and he plays Ryan in The Office. But it's wonderful. It is literally a book with no pictures. It's all words. But I love reading that book because you have to, in order to portray it well and do the book justice, you have to be super over the top with it.
Oh man, I like that.
Like midway through the book, it's just like it's set up and it's like, oh no, here it comes. Hold on, what's gonna happen? And it's just this page full of like colored text and all different fonts and sizes and everything. And whenever we get to that point, I love it. My heart soars with it because my three kids are just like screaming, rolling in laughter every time. And
I love it. I love it.
It makes it, I just love it so much because it's one of those things where I feel like I'm constantly tired. My kid said to me the other day, like, you know, I wish you weren't as tired as much because 3 kids is exhausting.
Yeah.
If you have more, kudos to you. I don't know how you do it.
I know. Yeah.
But it's exhausting. And, you know, I feel like with my one kid, I was really a bandit, and I was bandit before bandit was bandit, that was before Bluey came out and everything.
That's a t-shirt. I was bandit before.
Yeah. I was bandit before bandit was bandit. I like that.
That's
I'm gonna make that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have that on the store. Yeah, pretty soon.
Wonderful. I love it. But as time has gone on, I've gotten older. I've gotten fatter, because that's what happens inevitably too. But I'm just more tired. But I feel more now like I associate with Lucky's dad, Pat, because like Pat, I'm sure he's a great dad, but you always see him, right? You always see him, and he's always jumping right in with whatever the Heelers are doing. Yeah. And I feel like now, for me at least, it's easier for me to be a Lucky's dad for someone else's kid than it is to constantly be a bandit for my own kids. And my kids love me as a bandit, but they enjoy me being bandit for other kids too, because they get to still partake in it.
Yeah.
And that's just how life evolves. But whenever I'm reading, going back to your original question, whenever I'm reading that book, that's a great time for me to be bandit, because I just go so over the top with it. And there's always one spot where I'm like rolling through this page of text and everything, and then I'm going fast and going crazy with it, and then all of a sudden I just stop and like boo boo butt, because that's what it is. It gets my kids every time, and they're just like boo boo butt, boo boo butt, boo boo butt. It's a wonderful book. Highly advise you to check it out. It's wonderful. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things, being a bandit dad. But I don't know if that's funny or great or whatever, but it's one thing that really hits home to me.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Jordan, one of our guests, actually the first episode, how we were like this kind of dudes that have always been playful with kids. Like I was telling that one time I got to be a clown, actual clown, like with makeup and everything.
Yeah.
But I was helping a friend that is professionally clown. Right here in Mexico, we use a lot of clowns on parties and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was helping him on this event on the streets. So the professional clown, I mean, he's a professional. I don't know why I quote that, but he's good. I mean, if he's listening, sorry.
Right.
And he was like entertaining like 4 or 5 kids. And I had like 20 on my back running like crazy, like trying to catch me. And I didn't have kids then. So I've always been like this, that whenever there's kids around, they will fly like insects on the light with me. I don't plan it, but that's how it goes. So whenever I'm playing with my kids on a park or whatever, there's always at least one other kid that sticks with us. The other day on the park, there was this like game where a lot of kids like climb to this thing and then slide down. Mm-hmm. And there were like 14, 15 kids. We were playing with the 3 of my kids, and they started sliding down. But there were so many kids, like there was this clog of kids on the tube.
Yeah.
And I was like, just hold on, don't slide yet. And 3 kids like here, and like 10 minutes later, there was like 20 dads behind me, and all the kids like sliding down. It was crazy, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So going along with that reminds me of a story like that I had very similar to that. When my daughter first went to kindergarten here, this was right before COVID. Like COVID happened the second half of the year. But first half of the year, they had like a fun night or whatever. And it was like all the kids and all the parents come play on the playground and just have fun, everything like that. And so my kid gets there, we get there. My kid goes running off with her friends in class, as they typically do. And like all the other parents are just like standing around the outside, like walking and talking, making sure their kid like doesn't rip off somebody's head or whatever. But they're all just standing there. I'm like, man, parenting is boring sometimes. And so I'm like,
True.
I'm not having fun here. I want to have fun. So I go to my daughter. I'm like, hey, what's going on? What are we doing? What are we playing? And so she starts telling me what's going on. And so I jump in and I'm like all, guns blazing there. And then she was playing like with 2 kids to start off. And then before I knew it, there were like 10 kids there.
Yeah,
they were all chasing me. I was telling them who to chase. They were like tackling people.
That's so fun.
And
yeah.
it was wonderful. It was so awesome. And it's not awesome to like, I didn't do it to like get accolades from other parents and whatever. It was just like, I want to enjoy this time with my kids. I want to enjoy this time with my kids' friends. And I don't know how many of the kids that were there have somebody in their family who's like that.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that when they parents don't play with those kids. You actually realize that.
You can tell, and it breaks my heart when I see kids who don't have what I had growing up, don't have what my kids have growing up, and don't have a strong, goofy, ridiculous person to look up to, because the world tells kids so many times that you have to fit into a box and you have to do this in order to be successful. You got to hold this full-time job and provide all this stuff from a very early age, that like I'm 33 and there are days when I feel like I'm 14. Mm. Like it's just one of those things where, life is meant to be fun. And it's not all about, going hardcore to try and better your career and do this and that. And I know people who have said, haven't said it, but in their actions, they're like, I'm going to do all this work now so that I can have a life better later. I'm like, man, live for the moment. You don't know if later is going to come.
Yeah.
So just being in the moment and being ridiculous with a ton of kindergartners is so freeing and so exhilarating. It's wonderful. I was tired that night, but there were several parents who came up afterwards and just said, thank you for doing that. Like, I'm tired right now. My kid needed that because they needed to get some energy out. And I'm like, yeah, man, it was fun. Whatever. It's just, you got to have that sometimes.
We go to this park where the story I told you, we go like every Saturday or something like that. And that story has happened several times there. So and I'm just, one of those times that you make stories in your head. I think that someday the manager of the store will, approach and say like, are you like entertaining or are you a clown or what's going on with you?
I mean, some people just have that personality, like that natural tendency to be ridiculous and be like a clown or be whatever and just not care about what other people think. And I'm one of those people.
Yeah, me too. It's just about enjoying yourself. I mean, kids have fun with whatever they have in their hands or whatever they can, and if you can't see a playground in any place you are, I mean, it's not to say that you will have some bitterness on you, but you are blind to some things. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you can't see fun in whatever you are, you're kind of blind in some ways.
And I love how kids make, little everyday mundane things for us into the most exciting thing ever. And one thing I've struggled with is, my kid brings me something in like Rug Island, in the episode Rug Island, they're playing with markers, but like the hand banded a marker at the end. Chili's like, hey, what is that? It's everything. Like, even though society and the world tells us it's just a stupid pen or it's just a stupid marker or whatever, like that's 20,000 things to a kid. And one of the things that I love is that trying to see things through my kids' eyes is really not, no pun intended, but eye-opening. Because they see the world from a whole different perspective, because they haven't had to go through the stuff that I've had to go through, that you've had to go through, and all the negative things in the world. and it's I want to go back to that a lot of times. It's just not care about all the stupid political and whatever's going on in the world. Just go back to the simpler times.
That's actually, I think that's actually one of the core, themes of the show. Seeing everything through the eyes of the kid. Because, I mean, every episode where is play based, there's a very mundane item that they play with. Like the asparagus, the xylophone, the feather,
right,
the balloon. I mean,
balloon, yeah.
Everything is just, random objects. And
right.
if you I have this, I have this,
yep.
I have this, I have this. Yeah, I mean, so you can actually make play a game that will go on for hours with just one object,
Right.
So that's the beauty of watching Bandit do his thing, because I mean he's so committed to the games that he doesn't mind having a hose like throwing water at his face for whatever.
Who knows how long?
Yeah, who knows how long? But that doesn't matter. I mean, that's awesome, and that's the kind of that style that we all want to be like.
Right.
And what I see is that, like, for the example of Bluey and Bingo, they're just making memories. I mean, when they get older and Bandit's not there anymore, they will remember the time where they froze that and just drew on her face, and that kind of things just grow a different kind of creativity on the kids.
Right.
It's different when you have to do your own exercises as a kid to grow your creativity.
Right.
It's different than having your dad be exactly at the same goofy level as you.
Yeah.
And when your kids, and when hypothetically Blue and Bingo grows up, they are going to have a different kind of creativity than other kids.
Right. And I think the world needs more of that.
Exactly.
Because like the world beats it out of so many of us, that creativity element. It's disheartening in a way, but we need more of that. And one of the things I love about the show is that it's showing people that it's okay to be ridiculous, because parents love the show. Every parent that I've seen is like, oh my gosh, there's Bluey, I love it.
Yeah, that's right.
But right, it's wonderful. But one of my other notable things, I guess, in the show that I really love is the octopus episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not centered around the Heeler family. Like, it starts with them, but then it's mom, I think it's Chloe, goes to Chloe's family and her relationship with her dad, and she's like, oh, you're not as fun as Bandit. And he's like, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, but parenting's not all the same.
Because kids are not the same either.
Exactly. Yeah. Every kid's different. But instead of taking it personally and being down and being like, my kid hates me kind of stuff, which I think a lot of people would resort to, dad goes over the computer. Hey, what you doing? I'm trying to learn more about this so that I can be more fun and I can connect with you differently, because I have a great relationship with my kids and we love a lot of the same ridiculous, goofy, stupid stuff. But I know it's not always going to be that way. And I know that there at some point, my kids are going to just have different interests. But taking the effort to try and connect with them on a level that's not comfortable for me, but it's comfortable for them. I think it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to be difficult, but I think it's something that, the show has really opened my eyes to, is that I need to be prepared for this.
Yeah.
That, when my kid says like I'm a bad dad at some point, which is almost inevitably happens in every family, I'm sure, not to take it personally, but try and use it as a teaching moment from my younger child and say, things are changing and I need to, if I still want to be there for my kid and prove to them that I love them and that I care for them, I'm going to have to change my parenting style, and I'm going to have to change how I interact with them, because as kids get older, they change. You
Yeah.
know?
I've always thought about that. Like when they're small, when they're small, like she's small, you are building structures and building bridges with them.
Yeah.
With all these all these games, all this stuff that we do for them right now when they're this small, this small, you are building bridges so that when they get to the teenage phase, they're gonna blow up some of those bridges. They're gonna destroy some of those. But if you build enough bridges, they will find their way back. You know.
Right.
So
that's a beautiful metaphor. I have never heard that before, but that is
I came up with it.
I love it. It's a wonderful way to portray it, because, you know, kids are going to try and burn bridges with you through those transformative, you know, middle school, high school, college years, those teenage years. But the more connection points, the more bridges you have, exactly like you said, I couldn't have said it any better, but, you know, it gives them more ways to come back. Because, you know, working in youth ministry, I work with a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers, obviously, but you know, they think that their parents are stupid and like, I know it all, I'm good enough, and, you know, I don't need them and everything. But I was like that when I was a teen. Everybody goes through it. But as you get older and you start having your own family, you're like, I'm so sorry I was like that.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I realized that you really did have it out, have what was best for me. And
like,
trying to connect again on that is important. And if you burn all those bridges, if you only have two bridges trying to maintain your relationship,
that's right,
with your kid, and they burn both those bridges, you're out of luck.
Right. Yeah. Like for me was interesting because my dad died when I was like 19 years old or something like that. So I was going out from the phase of the destroying bridge phase. And I was starting to come back to him. Like I mean, it's not to say that I was rebellious or something like that. I mean,
right.
I always had a good relationship with my dad, but it was when I just got into college, and you know, I was being more mature as an adult at that age. So when I was starting to like see what were the bridges left, so I can cross back.
Right.
My dad died when I was that age. So right now, when I have kids of my own, and I wish I could talk to him, you know, just you have a conversation with him, and let him know that what he did was the right thing. I mean, I'm a good dad because of I had a good dad.
Right.
But if you, like I said, if you build enough bridges with your kids, no matter what happens, you will always be with them. I mean, even if what happened to me, I know I'm connected with my dad, you know?
Yeah.
I know that he built enough bridges so that when he left, I wasn't like, good that he's gone. I mean, I'm happy. I was like, I mean, it is what it is. That's happened. I'm happy about it. I made my peace with it. But I definitely, my heart is connected to him. So he did a good job. So that's the whole point. They, even whatever they do, even if they go to the extremes like drugs, something like that, anything like that, they will find a way back if you build enough bridges for them to cross.
I've got some friends, and you know, his brother struggled with addiction and stuff, and it's hard when you see people who have bridges, and even, you know, people who are older who haven't come to light of, you know, this bridge is for me to go back home to, and they still keep constantly trying to blow up those bridges, even when they're 40 or whatever. you know, it's different. Every situation's different. Every family's different, and you try and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And you know, you're gonna fail and you're gonna have successes. But it's, I mean, having as many contact points, and I think ultimately, you know, if I can go to bed every night thinking, I believe what I did today was best for my kids, best for my family, I think that's a win.
Yeah.
And even if I feel like if you say that to yourself every night, then you feel like, you know, your parents instilled that in you.
Yeah.
So that bridges that connection, even though you weren't, it sounds like you weren't able to officially tell your dad, you know, thank you and everything for everything, but you have that piece after the fact because, you know, I'm doing all this because my dad told me, showed me, this is who I need to be as a human. And you can make your peace after the fact. But I mean, sad part is that not everybody gets that opportunity, or they feel like they need to have that physical, verbal closure. And in reality, that isn't always the case.
Yeah. Life
And
is
it's
hard
hard.
sometimes.
It is hard, but I mean, everything's situational. And I'm of the type of person who's like, again, going back to what I said earlier, is just rolling with the punches, and you know, adapting and figuring out, okay, this is a new thing that happened. How am I going to overcome this, and how am I not going to let it beat me into the ground? Because if it beats me into the ground, then I can't go to sleep tonight saying I did what's best for my family and my kids.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's baby steps, I mean, even if the thing you did today made you better like 1 millimeter,
Right.
even if it's that's progress. I mean,
Right.
sometimes we are so hard on ourselves as dads, as men, I don't know what to call it,
Yeah.
but
Right.
sometimes we get blind to the good things that we actually do.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this with in another episode. Like sometimes you get up in the morning and say like, I'm the best dad ever.
Yeah.
Like I did everything right. I'm the best dad. And there are some other days that you wake up and or something happens, like you yell at your kids or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're like, maybe I'm not even in the
Right.
100.
Yeah.
So,
But I think, you know, going along with that, every day you strive to be better than the last, right? I
yeah.
feel like that's, I think, I hope everybody's like that. You try to be better than the last day. But I think also embracing the failures and celebrating the
That's
failures
right.
sometimes is good too, because, you know, if you figure out one day I yelled at my kid and, you know, I would say today wasn't a win. I actually went backwards. Hopefully you learn from that. You embrace it. You celebrate that you learn, you took a bad experience for you and your kid and everything, and you're going to learn from it. And so that next time something similar comes around, you're not going to go back to that same way you did it. You're going to be doing it differently.
Yeah.
Because that one day you might have stepped back, but the next morning you learned something, so you leapt ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even if you do, I mean, even if you like do the same mistake several times or whatever, that still doesn't define you as a dad. I mean,
Right.
without going to the extremes of like anger issues or something like that, like being a regular dad, being a dad that actually makes a huge effort to be good. Um, Even if you made the same mistake several times, that still doesn't define you. I mean, that's one of the things that always gets me, like making the same mistake several times. Like for me, it's kind of difficult because we are 85-90% sure that our oldest is an ADHD kid.
Mhm.
It's a very difficult experience because ADHD kids are different.
Yeah.
They are highly energetic. They don't control their emotions that well as a regular neurotypical kid. And like having control of yourself every time he does anything weird, that's difficult. And like trying to be controlled every time, it's not possible.
Right.
So even if you do the same mistake several times, you are still a good dad. I mean,
Right.
you don't have to feel bad about like yelling a couple of times to your kid. I mean,
Right.
there if you see the bigger picture, if you see the memories they're getting, all the games you play with them. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And one thing I quickly learned is, we will remember something for weeks, months on end, and my kids will forget about it within an hour. So like I might have yelled at my kid at 10 a.m. this morning or whatever, and I hold that in, and it festers, and I get upset. I go to bed angry, and I apologize the next day because I've realized, I was in the wrong or whatever. I apologize to my kid, and they're like, what? Like, what? You didn't do that, And there's a point of grace there where, it's okay. And, I didn't have to apologize because I knew my kid was going to forget about it. But I think there's instilling in our children, instilling in my kids. I want to make sure that they know that sometimes parents, adults mess up too.
Quite often,
I'm not.
actually.
Exactly, right. I'm not always perfect. I don't ever pretend to be perfect. But saying I'm sorry and truly meaning it to a 5-year-old is earth-shattering in a way.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's not just empty words. It's just, I'm truly sorry. And they're like, okay, sorry, whatever, and go on about their day. But like, it's very being able to show that and instill that in my kids so that hopefully when they grow up, they instill in their kids, it's okay to say you're wrong. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to show emotions, which is another huge thing that, the movies and everything, they show men as being like no emotions and always have to be the rock and everything, which isn't an accurate portrayal by any means. Being vulnerable is important.
And they get it. I mean, they are aware of all that. I mean, they might not react as you thought they should react to that, but when you see they are getting it, is they are imitating you on those moments. Like when I see my oldest kid, like without me saying anything, apologizing to their sisters when they did something wrong, it's like my job here is not like
right.
You set the example of it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to go and apologize if you did something wrong.
Right.
And when you say that to him, there might be an emotional reaction. My kid is very emotional. My oldest kid is very emotional. There might be some emotional reaction to that, but when you do realize that something is, sinking into his heart, is when they imitate you. And it goes both ways, because sometimes I see him trying to correct his sister, and he uses words that I use when I try to discipline him. Right. So I mean, you gotta be careful, because you're getting them the good things, but they are also catching the things that you are not.
And with you said your kids 5, it's 5, 4, and 3, right?
5, 4, and 3.
So my kids are a little bit more spaced out, of 8, 5, and 3 basically, and it's very much echoing what you just said. Is I say things to my 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old will try and do that same thing to the 5 and 3-year-old, and it doesn't always come across the kindest way because
I know
kids don't have that tone and everything understood yet, and so like there's the points where they're trying to be the parent for their younger siblings, and there have been many conversations in our household of being the big sister is a tough job, but it's an important job, and you're going to mess up everything. Same thing with parenting. Being a parent is a hard job. It's a rewarding job, but you're going to mess up. But there are times when I talk to my 8-year-old in bed at night, and she's just like, being a big sister is so hard. I just wish I was like the middle sister or whatever. And I'm like, it's very hard, but I'm gonna get emotional. There's there's no one else who I would ever swap my oldest child out for, either any of my kids or anything, because I believe like we had our kids in this order for a reason.
Yeah,
Not saying that I had any say in it, but you know, everything happens for a reason. And if we try to control, and if my kid tries to control and like change scenarios and stuff, like it's not going to benefit anybody. And being a parent, being a big sister, being a middle child, being the youngest child, it's always, you always see the bad in whatever situation you're in, and you don't always see the good.
Yeah.
And that I like to hope there's a lot more good than bad, but I don't know. That goes back to society's teaching on us too. So
I mean, society is falling. I mean, society is crooked in a way. I mean, the world is hard, is what I'm trying to say. The world is it's difficult. I mean, there are a lot of bad things going on, but the way you look at it, and even more the way that kids look at all the things. When COVID started, I made a really short story with my kids where my wife, it was like a short film, sort of, where my wife and I we're going through a lot of plays with our kids, like in the pool, and the little inflatable pool, or playing with whatever things. But with all the games, there was one parent with looking concerned, hearing, and there was this background of the news on the TV, and there would always be news that more deaths because of COVID, a lot of bad news, but the kids never, they realize what's going on because they would talk about the virus every now and then. Yeah. But they choose to play, and they choose to be happy about everything, because for them it's a good thing, because they got to stay with their parents the whole day and the whole week and months and whatever time we were locked down. Right. So the way you see things is your business, is your responsibility. So what I wanted to show with that short film was kids know about COVID. Even if they are 3 years old, they are aware of what's going on in the world. Not like us, of course. Of course, right. But they are still playing, and they are still like choosing. They're making the best out of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we can do that. I mean, right. We are adults. We have to worry more. Yeah, of course. We have to worry more. But we can take that approach too. Right. I mean, you know, it's hard to always see it, but you can always find joy in everything. You have to search hard and deep sometimes for it, but you know, I think nobody wanted COVID to happen, but there is joy in finding and appreciating the things that you have and spending more time with your family, and they might drive you insane, but there's a nice thing around that too. And you know, talking to some other parents, one of the wonderful things is that, you know, everybody was so go. Like you had to jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and you're running from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, and you're just exhausted. And you know, when the world shut down for 2 weeks or however long, you got the opportunity to finally take a breath and reset and reevaluate. And so now that you can reevaluate, you can really prioritize and say, you know, work was my number one before, but it's not even the top 10 now, because there are so many other things that are more important to me than my work right now. Yeah. It's exactly. It's good to hit that reset button every once in a while. And hopefully a pandemic doesn't tell you to hit the reset button every time. Hopefully you can find other ways to do that too. Yeah, it was strange for me, because for the last 5 years I've been working at home. So it was like I have been in lockdown for past 5 years. The only difference is that my kids were with me. Right. Yeah. But yeah, man, this is a good conversation. I wouldn't want to to end it, but we do have 1.4 hours.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, let's do this again, but we have to close this episode for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
And but yeah, definitely let's do this again, and hopefully we'll see you on season 2. We'll be happy to have you another time, and thank you all for watching. I know this was a somewhat longer episode, everybody. Thank you for being here. If anyone is watching or listening to this point, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
You always hope.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We're doing this for fun.
Yeah, I think one of the so full disclosure on our pre-message meeting last time, bringing this to light for everybody. One of the things that you expressed to me was that it's hard to find people who kind of are in the same life circumstance. It's hard to make friends sometimes because we are so busy and everything, and it's very freeing to open up and just talk to somebody who you've never met before. Because you can be honest with one another. And I think if nobody else listens to this or whatever, I hope you, sir, got something out of this experience talking to other people. So
like we were talking about that other day, even if this never picks up, there will be a lot of different opportunities, like I said. So yeah, it doesn't worry. It does. I don't.
I'll stop talking now, so you can wrap it up.
No, don't worry. I mean, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for listening. Yeah. So please follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We are Biscuits. We're gonna leave every social channel on the description. If you're listening to this on Spotify, go on Facebook and find Biscuits. Go check out the store. That will help us support this endeavor. We want to have a lot of things going on. Let me say this again. We want someone to perform a live stomp fest on this channel. Please do. Yeah. If you want to do it, if anyone listening to this want to do it, please reach out. Please reach out. We want to see that, even if it's a little tree. We want to see that. We want someone to perform live stomp fest, and go subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. We have 12 subscribers up to this point, which I don't care. If 12 people are listening, I'm okay with that. And go follow us on every social. Please share with your friends or whatever this podcast. And we will see you on episode 5. Thank you all for being here. See you later.
The Bandits Everywhere